Okay, welcome everyone. So one of the things that I've noticed for the past 2.5 weeks for me is that because I have a unique position in that many people are seeking help and they're coming to me, students, clients are coming to me and asking me to support them. The past 2.5 weeks, we had several people that were in severe crises, including COVID, that me and my community, the community had to step in to try to help, to support energetically and otherwise. And in the process of doing this, I lost sight of my own practice and personal journey. Meaning to say that instead of me constantly focusing on me, because I have a very specific routine, I'm very disciplined, and this is what I'm doing. But when I have 5 people that I have to pray for and I have to do things for, it's like the kid that's putting his finger on the dike. But instead of one location, I have 5 locations I have to plug. And it's complicated for me to kind of like figure out where my needs fit in the equation. And added to that was the fact that we have this new variant, Omicron, that's coming in very fast. It's now in 12 states in the United States and spreading around the world. And then also the worry and the concern over the channeling that I recently forwarded to everyone, and the potential hard landing. It doesn't have to be a hard landing of this, because it's still in the future, it can still be altered. And I think this is the reason why the Galactic Region Council gave us these prayers. I sent an email to the group that, text to the group that if all of us, meaning 10% of the population of the earth, not even the whole planet, were to say these prayers, the Archangel Michael prayer and the other channel prayer every day, it would actually cause all of these things to become a soft landing. Because what's agitating it for all of us and keeping us in darkness, it's the simulacrum of the Archon, how the Archon are taking our raw emotion caused by climate change and all these things that are happening around us and inflating them to a point where we're completely disempowered and we don't recognize who we are anymore. So if enough people around the earth were to say these prayers, it would block the influence of the Archon in the group body. And it's only 10%. 800,000 people were to say these prayers every day, it would make everything a very soft landing. That's 10% of the almost 8 billion people that we are on the planet. So if that could happen, it would change the outcome dramatically. But if it doesn't change, it's going to make it very hard for those of us who are the wisher as us to demonstrate and find the peace and the serenity. And I know this because the 2.5 weeks that I've just spent was a struggle for me. A struggle to find where I am, what my center is, because I spend a lot of time externally trying to plug dikes and to stop catastrophic events from coming to fruition. And because of this, I was able to hold on a second. Okay, perfect. Because of this, I was able to I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about how even I, as a teacher, can be very easily distracted and find myself, it wasn't exactly what I consider to be full fear or panic, but it's a sense of being scattered all over the place. and not being in alignment. Okay? And even forgetting what I need to do to get in alignment. I've said this to you before, and I'm going to repeat this. This is personal to me, and maybe it might be different from other people, particularly for the young kids today that are multitasking all the time, doing 3, 4, 5 different things at the same time. If I have a list of more than 5 things, because after doing healing for 5 people, then I had to go and try to focus on myself and finding the path of my own spiritual practice. By the time I get to the 6 things, I will do all of the other 5 and all the 6 things mediocre. I will not be able to excel at them. And I knew this in school, undergrad, graduate school. I've discovered this about myself. I can't scatter my focus this way. And I'm noticing the same thing about myself in this instance as well, although I was able to quite a bit help all the other people. And I thank God that there was a larger community that was praying for everybody that caused me to be able to find support. Because alone, I think I would have, because I know what happened to me when I have 6 things to do, I become paralyzed by the enormity and how big it is, and I can't move forward and I can't do it. And it scares me so much that I don't find the motivation, the desire, and I kept saying to myself, I'm going to do it wrong. I'm not going to do it right. How do I begin? I become almost like an infant. And so I'm acknowledging this about my nature. And I realize over the past 2.5 weeks, this is exactly what has been going on. So many crises and so many things going on and so many people to pray for that I got to a point where I was not concerned about my own practice. Like the mother pelican picking at her intestine and feeding it to her kids, this is what I was doing. And I tried the best of my ability to surrender everybody into source and to let God do it, because God has the ability to take care of everybody. There's a story about Kuan Yin. When she was ascending, because her name means she who hears the suffering of the world. She was feeling and sensing the distress of everyone on the planet. And she felt so overwhelmed and incapable of reaching out to everyone and respond to try to give them compassion and mercy, that she went to the first Buddha, Gautama Buddha, and asked for help. And there are a few things that Buddha did for her. He blessed her with the ability to see multiple places at the same time. So in certain statues of Kuan Yin, you will see that she has 3 heads looking in 2 different directions. And he also blessed her with the ability to respond simultaneously 1,000 places at the same time. This is the statue of her having all of these hands like a fan all around her. I'm not there yet. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not there yet, okay? And I'm having problem trying, because I feel like I'm spreading myself too thin. I don't think I'm doing it good enough, because I have protocol that are written down. You do this, you do that, or the other. And by the time I do all 5 people, the day's gone. I don't have time for me to do all the things that I'm supposed to do. Prepare for my classes. I'm writing my book. Forget, for the past 2.5 weeks, I didn't write anything. I don't have the time. I'm so worried and so concerned about all these things. I'm focusing on, and I don't mind doing it for a moment of crisis. I don't mind walking away from my routine and doing something else for a moment of crisis. But it took me a minute to try to find my own center. And I don't know how you spend your past 2 weeks. I know, for example, a lot of the students that are international, like I know Australia lockdown, UK lockdown, Germany is locking down. There are lots of places that are locking down because of COVID, that are spreading all the new variant that's coming in. And people are finding themselves almost like in deja vu. I remember talking to Marjorie a few days ago, 2 days ago, and we were talking about it fell with the Omicron as we were watching the news. They were discovering more and more people that were testing positive for it, that it was spreading and spreading. that it felt like the early days, like March of 2020. Like there was a flashback to a moment we've already passed that we're revisiting again. And to a lot of people, this is extremely exhausting, particularly if you're, I had somebody on the call earlier this morning. She's a business owner. She owns a wellness spa, and her business and her livelihood depend on having clients. They just came out of lockdown in the UK, in England. Now they're going back in lockdown again. How she's going to make a living, how she's going to pay her bills, her employees. There are all these concerns of what this is meaning for people. And it plunges you into fear. It plunges you into worry about, scarcity, insecurity, about paying your bills, your livelihood, and et cetera, et cetera. And I'm experiencing all of that as well, because over the past, my clientele has shrunk over the past 2.5 months. The number of students I had in classes on Tuesday has shrunk dramatically. And I'm experiencing this with paying my bills. I'm behind, and I'm struggling trying to catch up to make sure that I am where I'm supposed to be. And I know this because the reason why people are not signing up is because they are having problems. It's a domino effect. You understand? It's a domino effect. I know this, and I'm doing the best that I can to kind of like keep things going. And I wish I was not in a space where this was a concern. I wish I was in a space where there was enough abundance flowing around where I could, focus on the work alone and not worry about just the logistics of making a living and not worrying about the financial insecurities. But this is not where I am. And this is not where the majority of the planet is. And I have to acknowledge that it is a struggle, and that struggle creates all kinds of ripple effect in our psyche and how we respond to things. Because we're always calculating, if I take this from there, how I do this, I do that. If by the time you're doing all of this, you cannot remain in a state of perpetual hope or focusing only on benevolence, even though you're listening to all the recordings that I've sent and you're doing all the work that you're supposed to. You cannot be in that space because you're so worried about if, and you're concerned and you're making alternative plan. If things shut down, I'm gonna have to figure out a different way to make a living. How am I gonna, you understand? Because for example, for small business owners, like this young woman who's in England, she probably borrowed and took loans out for the first shutdown that they already had. Now, if there is another shutdown again because of a new virus, a new variant of the virus, where is she going to find the money to maintain her business? Is she going to shut down the business? How is she going to pay her bills? That kind of thing. And she loves what she's doing, and she's good at it. She has an excellent wellness spa, and people coming in COVID, of course, kind of like foiled all of this. She had a successful business. So I understand all the concern, and I'm with everybody in terms of trying to figure out a way, because for me too, I'm feeling it as well. And aside from the fact that I was scattered trying to provide healing for everyone, but that also was a concern. It's like, how do I figure out how to keep my healing practice going and generate a way for more clients to come in and more income to come in, so that I can be in a state, instead of being in a state of scarcity, but I can be in a state of abundance. How do I, and I know how to get into that state. I have to be in gratitude. I have to be in, alignment. I have to be, I know what I'm supposed to do, but it's when you're overwhelmed like this and you have your finger, like I said, instead of one point in the dike that I was holding 5 different points. When I have too many things that I was trying to support, I didn't have the time to align myself so that I can remain in that state and allow flow to come in, because I got scattered. I was all over the place. Now, I have to say to you that I was very happy that the protocol and what I'm supposed to do have all been written down and have all been recorded, and all the information is there. Because after 2 weeks of this, I had to go back and look at what I wrote, what I channeled, and follow the exact protocol to the letter to remember the state. I know I'm in the wrong place because I can feel the misalignment, like something is not right in my core. Like I'm in multiple places at the same time. And I need to bring myself back to the center. And I had to go back and look at all the protocol for the universal breath, for the morphogenic listening, for the torsion field, and all of these things, and realize, okay, I need to go back and I need to follow the protocol to the letter. You do this first, and then this comes second and third, and so on and so forth. And now do it exactly to the letter. And when I began to do this, it began to feel better. It took me a day and a half, but by the second day, I was beginning to feel like my old self again. Like I was beginning to feel alignment. I was beginning to feel clarity. I was beginning to feel a sense of I'm pulling myself together, because it's a challenge when the lesson you thought you just passed is showing up again. It's again at your doorstep. Okay, a different version of it is showing up again. And in instances where you have friends and family members that are ill, I had another client, one of my students, telling me that one of their family members, this is today, one of their family members is sick, that if I could pray for them with COVID. And again, it's more opportunity for me to learn how to become like Kuan Yin, to have 1,000 hands, all around me. But for me, it's a challenge at the moment to figure out a way to actually do this. Because again, as I said, by the time I get to the 5th one, the 6th and 7th, I'm doing very poorly. I feel overwhelmed. I feel all over the place, and I don't know how to manage and how to spread myself, because I feel too all over the place. And I feel a sense of guilt that I'm not giving my attention to each one of them correctly. I'm not giving them the proper attention that they deserve. And there is not enough time in the day for me to do all of it. So what I'm alluding to is that I discovered that my own protocol that I've given to you is actually extremely useful for me in these moments that are challenging for me, when I'm beginning to realize that these external events are causing me to discover pockets of unease that I didn't know were there, when they're also helping me discover that I need to grow more, I need to stretch faster, I need to expand. I'm certainly not a Kuan Yin. I'm not a bodhisattva, and this is not my path. But to be able to a little bit more flexible not flexible, but more agile in the way I'm able to move from one thing to another. I'm finding that beyond a certain point, I don't have that agility, not yet. Maybe this is what this whole experience, external experience, is trying to teach me, to have that kind of agility. And so it's a work in progress. I'm working on it, and it's causing, on some level, concern. But I'm very glad that protocols are written down, and I'm able to look at them. And as I began to do them, I was able to get to it very quickly. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I need to share this with the class, because even for me, the teacher, look how much it took me 2 weeks to get back to the routine and to figure out a way to remember them back. It's not that I have forgotten them altogether, but at the moment when I had my hands scattered in so many different directions, and the concern over the flow and of my own practice and everything else, I began to realize that I didn't have the ability to even remember the protocol correctly. I've been teaching this for more than 15 years, but I didn't have the ability to recall it correctly in the right order, or for that matter, when I sit down, and it's not that I didn't make the gesture to sit down to try to do the meditation. It was not flowing, it was not coming naturally. I was trying to do it, it was, what came first? Who's the second? How do I do this? I was getting confused. Part of this as well for me, it's the fact that my monad is in the third ray, and the negative aspect of the third ray, although it's mental illumination being the positive aspect of it, meaning it's not intellectual. It's literally a mental picture on how to manifest what's in God's plan into physical reality. That's the power of that ray, the third ray. But the negative aspect of it is also being scatterbrained and being overwhelmed by seeing too many details. And I have this in my restructure. And when I have too many things like this that are in front of me, there's a part of me that begins to shut down and saying, I can't do any of them. And it's just like shutting down. This is a character flaw or something in my spiritual psychology that I need to overcome. And I need to grow and evolve out of, so that I can begin to understand, expand beyond that point. Because certainly we're going to be asked by the challenge of the time to move much faster, to be much more agile and much more flexible and resilient than the few experiences that I had more recently. Okay. And it was just a matter of healing and energetic support, and a matter of my own concern over money flow for me and etc. But I certainly was not in Java. For example, today there was news in the news that Java in Indonesia, there was an eruption of a volcano, 13 people were dead. I mean, relatively, the experience I had was mild, but emotionally, it felt like I was confused. I didn't have, this is big for me, because the true gift that I have is the gift of clarity. Okay. Yes, I have morphogenic listening abilities as well, but that gives me clarity. And if I cannot access the morphogenic field because I'm scattered, I'm all over the place, the clarity is gone. So I didn't have clarity for myself, and I felt I had no clarity, no real clarity for others. Although it's not completely true, the clarity for others, because I'm a giver by nature, I find that when I have to give or step up for someone else, the clarity shows up for the other, for me to see for the other person. But it's when it's my own stuff, as usual, when it's your own stuff, it takes a minute for it to unpack and to show up in the right way. Any questions, any comments that anyone, anything you want to share about what I've said so far?
Well, I mean, don't, I mean, I appreciate that, and actually, I don't know, a lot of things came streaming to me as you were talking, and you know, I mean, it sounded like this is a pivotal point for you to expand, you know, into being whatever, you know, your path and journey. But I also related to, you know, what you were saying in many instances, and I certainly understand about the simplicity. You know, you got to keep it pretty simple and straightforward and start with yourself. And I mean, there's certainly something that I practice and sometimes struggle with, but I keep mine simple. I mean, even growing up, my siblings used to tease me, and they still do, that, you know, growing up, I would make this list of things to do, and I would put sleep at the top, and I would make it beyond sleep. But sleep was a way of me clarifying things, I guess, is what I'm saying. You know, I mean, you know, I think it's important to be aware of what helps, well, for me, what helps me to clarify. And you know, I mean, the other part, you know, you talk about emotional intelligence. And when you talked about mental illumination, and what I felt or saw sense was that, you know, it was moving from a physical doing to a mental illuminating, you know, because the mental illumination holds it all there. And, you know, for the spirit to just do what it does naturally. And I mean, it also says that we are constantly, you know, in a state of moving change flow. And you call that agility, which is good. So, you know, I guess for me, the lesson would be, how do I remain open to be something more bigger or whatever, or see more, or just to be whatever that is, to be in service to. You know, how do I grow that in a bigger way? I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Esther, for your insight. You're probably right. I'm at a point of crisis where I have to expand into a different identity of who I am. And I acknowledge that that this is causing some growing pain for me that I need to overcome. And certainly the idea of being more agile and more flexible, yet still have the clarity that I need, the mental illumination that I need, so that I can actually perceive and see where I'm going. I remember
Mm.
a line from the Matrix where the second Matrix where Neo was asking the Oracle a question, and the Oracle said to him, no, you didn't come here to make a decision, to ask me to clarify something, to make a decision. You've already made the decision. You came here to understand the decision you've already made. And then she said something very curious at the second part of this conversation exchange, that no one can understand a future that they are not comfortable seeing.
Mm.
And she said, not even me, not even I, the Oracle, can do this. That there's a sense of there's a struggle to be comfortable with that future. So we just had these predictions where all of these things are coming. It's a question, and some of it feels energetically very uncomfortable. And how do I, if I'm struggling now, what's going to happen when all of these things become true? This is a normal way, you know, planning ability function. And thus, in terms of insecurity, whatever is showing up in the future horizon is beginning to make me feel more and more insecure. And thus, I have to figure out a way to manage that insecurity and bring it into something else. I know the intellectual language and argument, I've channeled it, that if you are living in a state of perpetual hope, if you stay in gratitude, the flow will show up, the ability to do this will show up. But I'm trying to teach my emotional body to go into that flow. It's not that I don't know it intellectually. I get it. You understand? I get it in my head. But it's to teach my emotional body how to remain. This is the conversation I've been having with myself for 2 weeks. Is to teach myself to stay in that state.
Well, yeah, it's like,
sorry.
oh,
Go ahead.
go on, Marjorie. No, go on, Marjorie, and then I'll come back.
You know, Pierre, my suggestion is the same way that you are releasing stuff to help others and to do healing and to do all these things. All these beings are there to support you. Why don't you ask them, as they are giving you those vision and everything else, because you alone as the human part of you cannot do this by yourself. As they're giving you the vision, why don't you ask them for the gift to show you how to unpack and transition and leap and give you that I'm not saying it's a cut, but to give you that really the gift to just leap and separate the vision to your humanity. You understand?
Actually, I'm sorry, Pierre, to interrupt you. Actually, I want to second this, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but it just the same thing. It just showed up. So I just want to tell you, Pierre, what showed up. To second this, to ask your monad to I'm just saying in my own words as best as I can. You can interpret it.
Yeah, I got it, but I cannot explain it properly.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
The way I can explain it is ask your monad to show you, to help you. I get a sense that maybe you're not asking them enough, And to give you example, I coordinate with my higher self and with my monad, everything, including the job thing. And I have asked them every time for help, for guidance, because it impacts everything else. It impacts the entire planetary work. So it's a integral part of this entire process. And I'm asking them on a regular basis, and I see it as not as a burden, but I see it as an integral part of this planetary work that the monad will benefit from as well.
Mhm.
And I'm just asking them. I'm asking them all the time. So maybe maybe something like that you could consider.
Ursula, thank you for the suggestion, and thank you, Marjorie, as well. I am not asking my monad. You're totally right. I'm not asking. Okay, there's a part of me. I converse with the field all the time, but I'm not asking my monad.
Right. But you see, the way I take it is as this work is a success, the entire monad benefits from
Yes,
it.
absolutely. You're totally right. You're totally
And
right.
in that sense, it's integral part of this entire process. And I talked to them. I said we need to coordinate it
Yeah.
because my work, where I go, if I move, do I go to Long Island? Because that impacts my time and that impacts the entire work.
Yeah.
So I don't look at it as them doing me a favor because I'm disempowered.
No, no, no. I'm not
You know
saying
what I
like that. It's just I have a way of trying to figure things out on my own, and I didn't in my
No.
consciousness. Yes, in my consciousness.
I'm with you. I totally get it because I'm the kind of person that before I do protection meditation, before I call on Archangel Michael, I try to figure out myself first.
Yes.
Because I know that every time I do it, I learn something.
Yeah.
And I know that I need to practice these things. But it comes a point where if it's impacting the entire project,
Yeah.
then I say, okay, this is where the buck stops. It's impacting the entire project. It's time to get them involved.
Yep. Okay.
The best way that I can put it, Pierre, you are an intercessor for everyone else, but you do not intercede for yourself.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Okay?
You're totally
And you have to learn how to do this because you have to
Only
understand.
my sister would know this about me. It's absolutely true.
No,
No,
we
no,
know
no,
that too. It's obvious.
but Pierre, what I'm saying, they are there for you too. They need you.
Yep.
Because they need your vessel to transmit that message. So you cannot be broken. And in order for you not to be broken, you have to ask them. They are dispensing the information to you is the same way that you have to ask them to give you the strength to undo those chaotic vision, to transcend over them so you can teach.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I would say, Pierre, I would say, and talk to them work-wise for suggestions.
Yes,
because
yes.
I was at first I wasn't doing it myself, but then I realized this is such an integral part of the success of the overall project. It cannot be pushed aside. It cannot be swept under the carpet.
Yes. And thank you all for teaching me. I'm learning. Thank you.
Well, I had one little comment, Pierre. It's not a little comment, but it's my comment. When you were talking about what you were feeling, you talked about it as a struggle.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask that maybe if you rephrase that, not as a struggle, but growing in your gifts, growing in your practice, and you talked about the leap and the flow.
Yeah.
So it's really not a struggle per se. It's that you are just stretching out and becoming more agile.
Mm.
I mean, so see it as this bold invitation from the universe that you're saying yes to. Because struggle means that you're resisting or something is resisting.
Yep.
I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying just open and emotionally just be that even before it becomes comfortable. Just go into that space.
Yep. Yep.
Amen, Sister Esther.
What?
Sister Esther, amen.
Oh. Okay, thank you.
Oh my goodness. We're in church today. Amen.
No.
You're always funny.
No, I want to thank all of you for your comments because it's hitting me where it needs to hit me because as I said, there was a lot of confusion for me. It's not that I don't know the language, I don't know what needs to happen. It's to bring myself emotionally to a state where I can actually let my emotional body move through it. That's the part that I was moving through. But I'm your suggestion about interceding, I can do it for other people. I intercede for them, but I'm not interceding for me. This is absolutely true. This is the biggest flaw in my personality is that I'm busy giving to the world and giving to everyone else, and I'm not giving to myself. That's the biggest problem I have. And I have to figure out a way to balance this. And the suggestion of talking to my monad is a very valid suggestion because I'm not talking to my monad. I'm simply thinking that they're just going to go along, but I'm not having conversation.
No. Yeah, I learned from experience. You need to ask because it's it's like they need permission.
Yes. I talk to the blessed field all the time. I go in there and I have conversation, but not directly.
Different.
Yes, not directly to my monad.
Yeah, because that's more practical, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I mean, I can only tell you what worked for me.
Yeah.
I went in and I explained that it impacts the time, it impacts the entire project, therefore needs to be included as an integral part of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And quite any big change I coordinate with them because it's the time goes so fast.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's no time for like not being detailed about it, almost like like you've done project management, right?
Yeah.
And you have that piece that's integral part of it.
Yeah.
So you need to have certain amount of detail included for everything to flow and function.
Yeah.
So I look at it as if I was a project manager.
Yeah.
And there is the transportation, there is the delivery, there are the constructors, and there's this, and that is integral part of that. So you want to do it, and you want to do it as if it was a project manager on a regular basis, and then they know that you want this coordination to happen, and then they will respond differently.
Yeah.
Then maybe like one or even like one off question, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ask and you shall receive.
Yes. Any other comments that anybody wants to make?
I just wanted to add that I have benefited from all these wonderful comments and the guidance, because I think they're elements that perhaps we all can learn from. certainly me.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I would also like to add, for me, it's all I totally can relate to what you're saying about, the giving and the receiving and all of that. And I am now teaching my heart to 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 listen and feeling my way through this, and I'm getting the courage more and more as I do that, because it's a balance of giving and receiving, and I have been given all of my life pretty much, and not receiving. So now I am now at the point of balancing that out, and I find that it's in my heart that I'm really beginning to help me now to do this. And so I mean, it took me quite some time to see this, because it was a blind spot for me. But now I'm beginning to see it, and I'm getting more and more courage, and to see it and to see that as a blind spot. But it's knowing where to give and how to grow and how to do these things. It's not easy. I just wanted to say that it's not as easy as we think it might be. From my perspective, it really is. If you are a giver, you really have to balance. And the other thing I want to say is that we should also support you in this, because you shouldn't have to worry about where am I going to get my whatever to pay my bills. I mean, unfortunately, but because you have so much to give, and I think all of us, when we can, we should, go give to you, to have the time where you then can give and do this work for the whole world and for others. I probably have said too much, but I'm fine now. I just wanted to give that comment. But thank you so much, and I appreciate everything you did.
Bobby.
One last footnote. I just feel that it is our time to leap. I mean, time seems like it's speeding up. And I mean, and it's not a physical leap per se, because I think the physical will follow the mental illuminating. But the mental being, we have to leap. We have to just leap out there and know and trust and those things that we know.
Beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you.
And Bobby,
thank you.
I don't know. Bobby was just talking a moment ago.
Yes.
Okay. I want to tell Bobby that when I was in Florida with my son, I had a dream, and we were talking almost on the same conversation, and you said exactly what you just said a moment ago. And so I just want to, say that, these things are already on the eases, because I heard her say exactly those words, and it was at least three days, maybe 4 days ago that she said this. And I'm like, what? She just said what she said in my dream. So I know that, even though, there seems to be distance, between us, it seems like we know the things that are happening in other people's lives, and
Yeah.
the thought and the desire to support are there. And so sometimes when we have a thought and then we just dismiss the thought, say, okay, well, I'll do the next step. But no, that when it comes to you, that is the time to act on it. So I just want to say thank you to Bobby, because I said, was she saying exactly what she said in the dream? And we were it was she and I talking, just talking.
Really? You know
Yeah.
what? I want to know how
But
did you get?
Felicia, you
How
just
did
say
you get?
something here that is very important, Felicia.
Hmm.
How
You
did
say
you
that
get the?
when we have a thought, we must act on it.
Yes, you have to act
And
on
and
the
and
thought.
that is part of one of the gifts of the spirit. It's
Hmm.
obedience.
Yes.
And this is another thing that we have to ask
Hmm.
for the spirit to give us, is that
Yes.
gift of obedience,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
act on it.
Yes,
Because
indeed.
if we are doing this work, we are in alignment. So the
Hmm.
spirit is talking to us all the time.
Right.
Our thought is not a scattered thought.
Yes.
This is a thought that is in alignment. So whenever something comes to us,
Hmm.
we really have to act upon it.
Yes. That is
That's
the
what I'm
truth.
saying. Thank you,
That
Celia.
yes, that is the truth. I just want to say again that this is a science, and when you ask, you don't ask from a place of undeservedness, thinking that you are asking too much. Since this is a science, and we do know that about quantum entanglement and things that bring into manifestation, you demonstrate, the thing that you're asking for, that you have to speak to that field that you know exists and know that that field will respond to you, and know within yourself that you are absolutely necessary to this plan,
Mhm.
and that you were not created accidentally or here accidentally. There's a purpose and a reason for you being here, and we know that we're in physical bodies that need support. We're not at the place where we are uh, existing off of the ethers at this point. So that those things that we need to meet those, the food, the shelter, and all the other things you need, those things will be provided for you in the uh, wherever it is that you are residing, and we can ask with a command that they be made manifest in your life right now, right here, right now, because this is where you need it at. Not in another world, not in a parallel existence, not when you get to another planet. You need this now, here. And so you're not asking amiss when you make that command on the universe to provide this for you. Because the truth that we understand that's not demonstrated is for you hasn't become a truth. Because it has to give a demonstration. So all I'm saying is we all are here, a part of the same body. If my foot is hurting, my head have enough sense to say, well, let me see what I need to do about my foot. Let me see what I need to do about my hand, my elbow, my whatever it is, whatever part of my body that needs the attention, I must give it. That because that's the way the body functions. The body don't say, "Oh, head say, oh, forget about that foot." No, you won't. You're going to be crippled, and the foot is going to let you know I can't do my job because I need this or I need that, and so the body's going to get about its business of supplying it the blood that needs to get down to that foot, so it won't, you know, fall into a state of, it won't die. It won't die on you. So we have to do that because we are a part of this one body. So I just want to thank you, because Bobby, we were having this conversation in my sleep, in my and I remember it so succinctly. I said, because I said Bobby had the answer. She She stepped up, she gave the answer, and here you are tonight. Same thing. So I'm just grateful for the synchronicity and for the alignment. And I do know that what is necessary is already on its way. You might open your I don't know what you call those things on the computer, the pen pal or whatever it is, and it will be floods and avalanches of the thing that you need in order to continue to do the work you have to do and to benefit others who come into your orbit, because we do know you will share. We do know that.
Yes, yes.
And so we're grateful that I would not stand by and allow you to fall, because I know you're not going to let me fall.
Right.
I'm more than positive that you're not going to allow me to fall if it's within your power to support me. So I conclude with absolute conclusion that we are necessary in this plan. That's all I can say. Okay, bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kalida. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all for your statement and for your support and for being here for me and for showing up to my support and to my rescue emotionally, psychologically, and some of you in the past financially so many times. Thank you so much. I just want to also add the other side of this. Okay, I had a conversation with a student of mine who happened to be to have great financial ease. And I spoke a little bit about it today. I can go in a little bit more detail in this class, because this morning in the morning class in the council, there were too many things that were going on for me to get into the meat of this. We had not spoken in 2.5 months because she wanted to take a break and she wanted some space because she was processing things and all that. And it's fine. I'm grown. There are other things I'm busy doing. It's okay. And I began to feel her presence around me. And when I text her, it happened, she's not in town. It happened that she was also in town in New York City at that day. And we had she was thinking of me as she was leaving town. This is when I communicated with her. And she said to me that the reason why she took the break to process, and I know part of it is because I move very fast. I move quickly. I move through things very, very quickly. And when I taught the Order of Melchizedek class, I remember saying to everybody, I'm giving you a lot of information, a lot of book, a lot of protocol. Every week there was something that literally expanded your body into something else. And I said, I'm doing this very differently than when I did when I was bringing people to the council the first time, which is I asked people to come in, and when I began to teach them this, they would interpret it. They would not understand the entire scope. So the class, or the Melchizedek, which is a 12-week class, is basically an overview of the entire ascension process and what it is like to be a priest of or priestess of Melchizedek, which is quite a giant leap. And she took the class, she was overwhelmed, and she retreated into isolation that she self-created because she has the means. She disconnected to everything, all social media, everything, not taking an email, any call, whatever, and she retreated. And she went deep inside of herself to do the practice of being in the presence of the morphogenic field and all that, and to allow ourselves to become the light and to remain in the blessed field and the emptiness and the luminosity. And she was saying to me that she felt that all of the stuff that had that was showing up in the that I taught in the Melchizedek training, or for that matter, in all the training that I've done, are too masculine. That she felt that being just in the presence of the field was just the feminine flow, and she was feeling much more aligned to this and all that. And I listened for almost an hour, and then I finally had to pipe up and say, listen, you can only do this because you're privileged. Someone who has to go to work, someone who has to deal with the fact that they are furloughing them because there's a lockdown or there's a restriction, someone who has to worry about all of these things that you don't have to worry about because it doesn't matter to you, you have money coming in no matter what. They can't afford not to have the protocol written down, because by the distraction created by you worrying about survival, you're going to be so scattered and confused that having the protocol written down, like I just described, that happened for me because I was all over the place scattered, trying to save and rescue everybody, that the protocol that I channeled, when I read them, it gave me the ability to go back to the space that I already know. Because in an emotional state that I was in, I was incapable of walking into it easily. And if she was describing the fact that she is writing a book about this, going into that space, and she said, I don't know how you do it, how you describe these things, because I'm finding it difficult to find words. For her to say what she said to me, it took her an hour of talking. And I said to her, this is the dilemma of the mystic, that when you enter into that field, time, space, and language goes out of the door. And because you're in a state of merger with something that is not 3D, when you go back into 3D to try to describe it, you have to create protocol. You have to create systematic way, because I'm going to give you a simple example. For those of you who've been with me for more than over 10 years, last 10 years, every time I do a meditation, I always say the same thing. Let your head drop in the middle of your chest and allow your mind and your heart to merge with each other, blah, blah, blah. And then I continue the meditation. To my mind, when I do this, it's the morphogenic listening. And I thought you all got it. It was not till when COVID began and I began to teach, and I was asked by my guide to teach in a completely different way. The way they asked me to teach it, teach this as if everyone was in a coma and you're trying to wake them up. You have to teach everything. Don't skip anything. Don't assume that everybody. And when I came to this, they said to me, they don't understand what you're saying. And I had to write the morphogenic listening protocol and exercise to show you how to do it. And at that point, many of you understood it for the first time. So it wasn't a judgment toward her. I was not blaming her or shaming her. I was just saying that I think it's important for us to understand that, and I was telling her this, that you need to understand that too. You may be in a state right now at this moment in time where it's easy for you to walk into that field, but it doesn't mean that 2 months from now, that the flow of money that you have will be there, or a year from now. And when that is gone and you have to do what you have to do to survive, and you'll find yourself in a different place, the protocol, the things that are written down, the recording would actually be extremely useful and helpful for you. Because everything that I shared with you in the Melchizedek training, in the order of Melchizedek training, all of that information, many of it, the reading assignment, everything else, came from other teachers who were initiated by Melchizedek. And it's their information. And if you're going to go, okay, so there are two ways of doing things. One would be what she wanted to do, which was like, I don't know the destination. I'm just going to close my eyes and sit in silence and quietude and just let my energetic body find a compass, find a way to get me there. The other way to do it is to look at the work of other teachers who have already arrived at the destination and look at the legacy and the footprint or the chariot or the bushwhack path that they have created and walk that path. You decide, you can figure it out on your own. You can sit down if you have the luxury to do it. Great, sit down and figure. And I had said this to her. She agreed with me on that. I had said to her as well that the entire essential mechanic that I'm teaching came through me by doing exactly what she's doing. But that took me 20 years. It took me 20 years to figure out. So if you have 20 years to sit down and be in deep meditation and to do all of this, then great, do it. I'm not disregarding that, but there is a sense of you need to be very aware of whatever you're experiencing at this time is a moment in time. Doesn't mean that's the way the rest of your life is going to be. And it's not a question of masculine or feminine. This is not the way I see it. Maybe I have a blind spot. Maybe I'm being too masculine and I'm not seeing it. For me, it's not a question of being masculine and feminine because there's not one teacher, including Kuan Yin, that didn't leave behind protocol, a system for followers and devotees and other people to find the same alignment that they discovered. So it was an interesting exchange for me because it allowed me to, because the universe has a way of mirroring the opposite, because I was just held by the same protocol that I wrote down, because if I didn't have them, I would have to figure out a way to remember them and it would have taken me too long. I think I'm doing the universal breath incorrectly. What am I supposed to do first? I teach this in my sleep, yet I couldn't remember it because I was in such an emotional state of confusion. I couldn't bring myself to do it right. And so I connected to it. I realized what it was. I was like, and the moment I did it, I was like, oh my God. Oh, what a flow, what an ease. It's so much better. If I didn't write it down and I was trying to remembering it by going back into the field again, it would take me another 2-3 days, if not a week, to get to it. I'm not saying I wouldn't get to it, but it would take me much longer. And again, we're talking about agility because things are moving so fast. I have to be able to spring, like be on a buoy or on a trampoline and be able to say, okay, I'm bouncing off and I'm moving on to something else.
Pierre?
Yeah.
I just remember something. I had these moments too where I would forget the basics. I call it amnesia.
Yes.
And I just remember that that also happens sometimes if I have like a big expansion. You expand so much that you kind of need to adjust to that expanded place.
Yeah.
And so that usually happens to me if I have fears, especially financial fears, in combination with expansion also. And we've been doing a lot of the going to retreats and you've been supporting that for us. So that probably impacted your expansion as well in some ways. So just something to maybe keep an eye on if that helps.
Thank you.
Like it's the combination of the expansion and the fears. And then second thing, I mean, I don't agree there is masculine in any way. It's such a high frequency channeling. Nobody has ever said that before, and I wouldn't even like worry about it. That would be just my comment.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Ursula. So we will continue to have the conversation, she and I. She's actually a very good soul. She really means well, and she's just processing. She's on a very, I mean, all of us are on our own individual journey, and she's going through something right now. And again, I know part of it is because I move very quickly. And when I'm again, this is the when I have the mental illumination and the clarity, and I'm able to move, I can be the Capricorn, the stubborn goat, and just keep going, right, until I reach the goal. And I understand not everybody learn the same way. Sometimes, particularly, I remember Ursula saying this morning in the class, that when we have these great expansion, you need a couple of days off just to veg out and to allow the integration to take place. And if every week you're getting another jump, it becomes overwhelming. Some people process faster. A week is fine for them. For other people, they might take 2 months just to process one thing and then allow themselves to move to the next, to the next, to the next. But I never designed that class as a complete integration of everything. That was not the intention of the class, and I described it at the beginning. The class was designed as an overview.
Overview, yeah. And also, to be honest, it's part of practice.
Yeah.
When you get to know yourself,
Yeah.
and then okay, how to manage it.
Yeah.
And it's not like you completely stop, but maybe the first 3 days I don't do the merger. Maybe I do it on the 4th day, right? But I do everything else. I do my breath, I do my dentien.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's part of the experience. And for us, the challenge is to attract as many people to do this work.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, because if you were a Buddhist monk, you wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah. No,
right?
absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
would be like, they would be waiting in the cold and rain and begging you to take them in. But the funny part is that you need to worry about this because we're in this world and people like to be comfortable, and people don't have this concept that this kind of work is a sacrifice.
Yes, yes, yes.
So that's the unfortunate challenge.
It is a sacrifice. It is a discipline. It is a challenge. But at the same token, you have to give yourself space doing this. You cannot keep on going at it in a way whereas you're too overwhelmed, and it's like you if you become overwhelmed, I'm probably not gonna use the word properly. Déstabiliser, Pierre. Comment on dit ça?
Destabilize.
Yes. Okay. You're gonna destabilize yourself. So you really have to go on your own space. But the only thing is you have to be serious doing that work. Because even if you do it in your own space and you're not overwhelmed, you could be doing this in just, I don't know, the practice, you're not doing it, you're probably doing it as maybe 3 times a week, or you're doing it as somebody else who probably will do it every day and be at it all the time. And you're 3 times a week that you're doing it. You go beyond of what that person who was doing it the whole week. Yep. You go beyond that person. You understand? So it's really a balance. It's really a beautiful dance, and it's a balance. And Pierre, I have to tell you, you remember when we were in school and the teacher is all of us went through this, that we take a class whereas the class is too fast for us. Okay? That's mean that the teacher was going to their curriculum and they were just breathing through it. What do? It's either that your parent get a tutor for you, okay? So it could help you with the material, or you gather with some of the other students in the weekends and you go over the material in order for you to understand it. So you try to keep up. So with you teaching the class the way that you taught it, and you even warn it, it's an overview, it's a class that's gonna go very fast, you know, and everything. So each individual will take it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So for that student to choose to do it her own way,
Yeah.
it's okay, you know?
No,
It's okay.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And
So, but you teaching it the way you taught it, it's also okay.
no, I agree. That
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not judging
Yeah.
her. There is no judgment. I'm just saying that this
Yeah.
was the exchange, and there is no judgment in my part.
Yeah, that's no. I don't think there was, but that was her experience, you know.
Yeah,
So
and part of what you said
anyway,
is
that's
true.
what I wanted to say.
Part of what you're saying is true, that she decided, because I created the WhatsApp group. She's in the group, but she doesn't listen. She doesn't participate. She doesn't pay attention to any messages. I don't think on WhatsApp is even turned on. And this was her choice. And you're right. Because things are moving fast, I decided to do this and creating this WhatsApp group as a way for you guys to talk to each other, to create the weekend that you were saying, going over the material, so that you can have the cross-fertilization and the cross-support. Because I know the material is fast. That was a choice that she made. So I
Anyway.
understand that, and she's where she is. But I just wanted to mention the opposite of finding benefit in the protocol was presented to me that same week. As I was finding benefit in it, the opposite was also showing up. We're in a dual universe, so these mirrors show up by showing us both sides of it. That's the reason for the story, is to show you that it can demonstrate both things simultaneously. Any other comments, any other questions? All right, let us take a 5-minute break. And in the back end, we'll do the closing meditation. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And realize that you can perceive 360 degrees all around you. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Become aware of the morphogenic field. And allow yourself to sink with infinity times infinity. Allow yourself to expand and grow into the vast continents. Now become aware of all of the fears, difficulties, and struggles. That are keeping you out of alignment with flow. And abundance. Notice what you noticed. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And take all of these burdens, struggles, difficulties, blind spots, and bring them into the blessed field. Simply take a very deep breath. From the core of the earth. And let this breath begin to move upwards, counterclockwise, passing through the bottom of your feet, moving through you, and dislodging all of this resistance, all of this control, and all of these disempowerments. And let them all be released as you exhale outside of your head into infinity times infinity. Let go. It is not your responsibility. to fix, do, or repair anything. Now allow the solution set and the healing and the repairs that you need to come from source and begin to drop into the top of your head. Passing through you and bringing repairs, healing, and instantaneous and miraculous change. And let it all drop through the bottom of your feet and into the core of the earth. Take another breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging any remaining fears, disempowerment, control issues, and let it all move upwards. Exit your head and be released as you exhale completely into source. Surrender and let go. Now let the healing and the repairs and the alignment that you need arise in the blessed field. And let it now drop into the top of your head, creating a transmutation and transformation of your entire being into alignment with celestial and divine purpose and plan. And let it all ground through you into the core of the earth. Take another breath from source, from the core of the earth, and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, moving upward and dislodging any remaining and residual resistance, fears, disempowerments. That are locking you into misalignment with flow, with abundance. And allow this energy to move upward and exit the top of your head like a gazer, releasing all of this false belief. Into infinity times infinity. Let go. Now inhale from source the miraculous and instantaneous clarity and illumination that you need, and let it pour into your body, passing through your entire core, dropping through the bottom of your feet, and grounding into the very core of the earth. Take a very deep breath from the core of the earth. And let this breath begin to ascend and rise through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging all false belief and identities that are keeping you stuck in insecurities, disempowerment, and fears. And let this breath continue to rise upward, dislodging all of these limiting beliefs, and let it all exit outside of your head and be released into source like a gazer. Let go, surrender, and release it all. Let the blessed field and infinity times infinity bring you the solution set and the instantaneous and miraculous change that you need. Inhale this blessing and let it all come in through the top of your head, passing through you, restoring your alignment, and dropping through the bottom of your feet and into the core of the earth. Take a very deep breath from the core of the earth and let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, dislodging all fears, all disempowerment, and all energy systems or programs that are blocking your flow and that are creating insecurities about the future. Let it all exit outside of your head and be released completely, like you're throwing a rock into a pool of light. Let go. Allow the nullifying frequencies to come to you and let a cascade of benevolence and goodness reach the top of your head as you inhale deeply and allow this grace and its endless blessings to pass through you. And exit the bottom of your feet and go into the core of the earth. Take a very deep and final breath from the core of the earth. And let this breath move through the bottom of your feet, passing through you, counter-rotating, moving through you, dislodging all residual fears and blockages and resistance that are stopping the ease and the flow that exists in perfect alignment with the blessed field. And let all these resistance exit the top of your head and be released completely into infinity times infinity. Allow the blessed field to surround you with light, alignment, purpose, and peace. Take a very deep breath. And let a cascade of this pure divine imprint pass through your entire body and repairing all cellular imprints into perfect alignment with flow, instantaneous and miraculous repair and manifestation. And let all of it drop into the bottom of your feet and ground into the very core of the earth. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Janice. How we all doing? Everybody okay?
Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That was very, very good, Pierre. Thank you. That meditation I would like to have.
No problem. I'll send it tomorrow.
Okay,
I'll
thanks.
send it to all of you tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Mhm.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't want to ask, but yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thank you all for listening and thank you for helping me today. I needed to be taught and you taught me tonight. Love you all. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the love.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you, Pierre.
Love you.
All of us,
Bye.
Good night.
all of us for the
Good night, everyone.
day.
Good
Good
night.
night.